All right, welcome to our September call. We're coming 1 week early because I turned 73 next Thursday, so I wasn't going to do it on my birthday. So,
Oh, okay.
so we're celebrating all of us.
Yeah.
You guys are our family.
Happy birthday.
We
Happy
appreciate
birthday.
it, definitely. So we got a great lineup. We can't thank you all enough for getting on to share your knowledge with us because that's what's going to help to save so many people's lives just to have the knowledge of what's happening. So I turn it over to my son Brett and let's get it going.
Thank you all for being here. I look forward to a good little meeting. Great information coming up in return in terms of the study, and then with cannabis and microdosing and things like that on how it can help us cancer patients kind of get through. I've started using one of their CBD oils, and I really haven't taken any Tylenol or some of I still have the nausea meds that I have and stuff. I take it occasionally, but I've been doing that CBD oil more. So I'm happy to hear them talk about that a little bit more and their products and how it can help us out. So without further ado, let's jump right in about the cancer study, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brett. I'm just going to share screen. Okay, so hopefully you can all see this.
We can.
Amazing. So thank
Who
you.
all do we have from your group here too, Doctor?
Yes, so I'm Dr. Chiara Gastiga. I'm a postdoctoral scholar at the Mind and Body Lab. And then we're also joined by Andrew Crena, who is our lab coordinator, research coordinator, working on this study. So today we are very excited to be sharing the Embrace study with you. This is a rare opportunity to take part in research from Stanford at the comfort of your homes. So I'm just going to talk through what the study entails, what it's about, how to enroll if you're interested, some of the inclusion criteria, and things like that. And I'm happy to answer questions at the end. And I'll also direct you to our landing page, which has a little bit more information about the study as well. So we know that receiving a cancer diagnosis can be incredibly difficult. So our team, along with some other experts, including at Stanford Medicine, have developed some digital programs to provide patients with resources and support during these early stages of a cancer diagnosis. And really what our research aims to do is to understand and support the health and well-being of people newly diagnosed with cancer, acknowledging that that initial diagnosis can be really difficult. So the study that I'm talking about today has three components. It's called the Stanford Embrace study. So the first component is completing a digital program that we've developed. So when I say digital, this means that these are short films which can be accessed online through our website. And they feature experts talking about cancer, and with the goal of giving information that is useful to patients. So along with three modules consisting of different films, you'll also be asked to complete various tasks. This can include things like multiple choice questions to help deepen your understanding and learning about the information that we've received or that you've provided. So along with this, we obviously want to know how the digital program is kind of helping you throughout the study and how you're doing. So we're also going to ask you to fill out some questionnaires. Again, this is a completely digital study. It's all online, which you can do from the comfort of your own home. And I'll talk a little bit about reimbursement soon in relation to the questionnaires. And then the third component is remote blood samples. So this is something that patients tend to ask us a lot about. So these are some samples that help us not just to understand, so we don't just want to understand how you're doing throughout the study, but we also want to see how your body might be responding over time. So we're working with Tasso M20. So this is a kit that we can send to your house using a FedEx postal bag. The kit, as you can see at the bottom left here, consists of a device that you stick to your arm. and it's virtually painless and really easy to collect blood samples. So it will collect 4 dried blood spots that you can then send back to us using a FedEx prepaid bag. So we'll send everything to you. You do the sample at home, and it's designed to be virtually painless and easy to do. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete the sample. And it's a lot, obviously, less invasive than going into a clinic and getting your blood drawn in that traditional way. So you might be wondering, how long is this study, and is there reimbursement for my time? So all up, the study takes about 4.5 to 5 hours. The main component of the study is 10 weeks. So what we'll ask you to do is do 7 questionnaires. So there's 5 questionnaires during those 10 weeks, and then there's 2 follow-up questionnaires and 2 follow-up kind of periods. So that's 3 months after that 10-week block, and then also 6 months after that. So the main component is over 10 weeks. During this time, you'll be doing the 3 modules. So this consists of about 1.5 hours of time, along with some blood samples and then those questionnaires. So there's a total of 4 blood samples during the whole study period. And of course, we're going to reimburse you for your time. We know that you're all very busy people, so you'll get $300 for completing the study. However, this is spread out during the study period. So during that first block of 10 weeks, you'll be doing, it's kind of alternating tasks in every week. So there'll be some weeks where you don't do anything. There might be another week where you're just doing a blood kit, and then another week where you're doing a questionnaire. So you'll get the first $25 payment after completing your first getting started tasks. So that's your first questionnaire and your first blood kit. Then you get another $25 after every subsequent questionnaire, and then $125 right at the end once you've completed your last 3 blood kits. And we use Tango. So Tango is an e-gift card that we will email to you, and you can essentially use it at, I think it's hundreds of outlets. So we've had some patients already come back and say that they've been using them on Amazon to get some, for example, some hair, some scarves and some hair kind of pieces to as they were, going through chemo and they were losing their hair. So it's quite flexible in how you want to spend that. But obviously we're very grateful for your participation. So yes, there is reimbursement there. So we are looking for men who have been diagnosed within the last 150 days with a non-metastatic cancer. So that's stage 1 to 3. And we say this is a first diagnosis. So if you've had cancer previously, unfortunately, you won't be eligible to take part in this study. We're looking for people diagnosed for the first time. You also need to be currently receiving or have a treatment plan that involves active systemic treatment, such as immunotherapy or targeted therapies, or obviously also chemotherapy. You need to be an adult aged 18 years or older, fluent in English, and live in the United States with an address where we can actually send these blood kits to you. Unfortunately, that doesn't include PO boxes. And then because it's a digital study, we need you to have access to a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone with internet access. So I'm just going to talk through about how to actually enroll in this study if you are interested. So I'm going to provide you a link to our study landing page at the end of this presentation. The landing page is a website which just gives you a little bit more information about what this study is. And if you're interested, we'd love for you to complete our eligibility screening. As you can see at the bottom of the screenshot here, we've got check your eligibility. If you just click on that, it will take you to a short questionnaire. It takes less than 2 minutes just to see whether you meet all of our inclusion criteria. If you do meet all of the criteria, you can provide informed consent on there, and you'll get a little bit more information about each stage of the study and what it includes. And then you'll also be sent your consent form via email. You'll also get another email just asking you to create an account on our study website. As part of setting up your account, you'll also be asked to provide your postal address so we can get that first blood kit sent to you. And from then, you're ready to rock and roll. So you can start with your first questionnaire, and you can also start with your blood kit, which tends to arrive in between 3 to 5 business days, depending on where you live in the US. So once you've created an account, you'll get access to some of these features. So first of all, you have your My Journey page. Your My Journey page shows you at every step of the study what is due and what you can expect in the coming weeks. I'm not going to talk about the study overview and the modules because I've already talked a little bit about those, but you'll also see a page for questionnaires. Here on your account, you'll see 7 questionnaires that will ask you to complete at different time points. You'll also see when you are expected to get a gift card and when these have been emailed to you as well. We will also ask you just to provide some information from your medical records, such as a screenshot, just to show your cancer diagnosis and your treatment plan. And then we have our samples and shipping page. On this page, you'll get some step-by-step video instructions on how to complete all of the blood samples. If you would like, you can also download some written instructions, which can be useful if you want to refer to those as well. And yeah, I'll just show you just what the video guides look like. Obviously, this is a sped up video just from one of the instruction videos that we've included. But here you can see how our participant is doing the blood sample. It's, as I said before, virtually painless, really easy to do, and it fills up within 5 minutes. Following the step-by-step video instructions, we'll ask you to complete a checklist. So this is just to show that you've completed the blood sample and it lets us know that the kit is back on its way to us. Once we receive your kit, we will store it in our freezers in a secure place and then we'll assay them as well to look at different bodily responses such as immune and inflammation markers. So, okay, and then the last page that you'll also get access to is our support page. So here we have some frequently asked questions about the study and about some of the components. And we also have a chat function. So if you have any questions about what the study or what you're needing to do, or you need a little bit more advice, maybe on completing the blood collection, we're more than happy to answer those questions. Our chat is staffed by our research team during all business hours, and we have a response time of within an hour. So we're pretty quick in responding and getting that advice to you. So if you are interested in this study, if it sounds like something that you might want to take part in, you can follow this QR code or just copy the link into your browser. There you'll see the landing page. If you have any questions about this study, you're more than welcome to fill out the form at the bottom. That will come directly to our research team and we'll be in touch soon with some responses. If you think you meet all the criteria, please go ahead and do the eligibility screening survey. We'd love to have you take part in this study. I will just quickly note that we're looking for 440 participants across the US. Recruitment's been quite quick, so get in today if you are interested in the study and you don't want to miss out. We only have just under 98 spots left now, so we will be finishing up with recruitment soon. So I'm just going to stop sharing now. Thank you again for having us share this exciting study with you. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we've also got Andrew here, who's also happy to follow up via email if there's any questions that we don't address today.
I have one thing I'd like to let you know. A lot of these studies don't get put out to the VA.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could reach out to the VA, because I live in the Las Vegas Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and I know of 6 male breast cancer, 7 just got introduced to a new guy today. And we don't know anything about any studies. So if you could reach out to the VA, that might help you a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a really good
Absolutely.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll make a note and we'll be sure to talk to our research team about that.
Excellent. And then
Also,
Tommy, you might
yeah,
want
sorry.
to share, I was going to say, you might want to share this video to them too, so they know what it's about if they're interested.
Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yeah,
How
you're
long is
welcome. Well, sorry, you're welcome to share the video and also the landing page as well. If there's anyone that you think might be interested in taking part in this study, we're obviously trying to get, it's a digital intervention and it's completely, the whole study is digital. So we're trying to get a broad reach across the US. But yeah, thank you for that suggestion.
I have a question, a couple questions. How long is the study going to be for? What's the time frame? Is it a one shot, a one time only thing, or is it going to be on a continual basis?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's really good. So the initial study is 10 weeks, and then there's 2 follow-up time periods at 3 months after that 10-week block, and then 6 months after. And then that's the whole commitment of the study. So it's only during that time. So
Okay.
if you calculate it all up, it's about 9 months. But that initial 10-week block is kind of the one that we tend to focus on. And then there's the 2 follow-up time periods.
I,
All up, it's about 4.5 hours to 5 hours of commitment throughout that time.
okay. And the other question is, and it's probably a long-winded question to ask, but can you maybe answer, briefly, what are you exactly looking for in the study?
Yeah, so we are looking at different outcomes. So one, what I've talked about already is these biological markers. And then the other ones is just to see how the study helps you understand, we're really hoping to better understand that process, the initial stage of the cancer diagnosis, and how digital programs can help support in that period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But thank you. It's a really good question.
Can I ask how many men do you think you've had sign up? Has it helped that we're getting this out?
Yeah, Andrew might be able to help with that question. I don't have the exact numbers on me at the moment. With what we unfortunately see with this research is that generally we get women signing up quite quickly, particularly the breast cancer community, as they're quite active on
Yes.
social media and they're quite active in these research spaces. So primarily we've had a lot of women sign up, which is why we want to get these groups that are traditionally underrepresented in this research sign up.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, we've recruited and enrolled just under 50 males in our study.
Good.
So
maybe it's helping that we're getting it out there.
I'd like to think so, Peggy. Yeah, I think
Me too.
I think we're making some progress for sure.
Every effort helps.
Yeah, and if you find men that don't know we exist because they think there's no representation, tell them about us. Everybody is welcome. We're all families just coming together to get the knowledge out there to help any other family having to go through this, not to have so many difficult paths that most of us have experienced. So
Yeah. No, I think this is how like the digital, landscape could really be carved out and meaning and a lot of these interventions and various studies can actually reach, representative populations. And that certainly includes this. So, yes, it's very, very helpful.
well, we appreciate you finding us for sure, because again, the more knowledge we have, the better for everybody. So it's
Yeah,
powerful.
and feel free to direct anybody to me. I'm more than happy to talk on the phone with you. Peggy is always fun, but anybody that wants to talk about the study at length, I'm more than available.
I
Wonderful.
have another question. Do you have a JPEG picture of the study that, well, for example, I have a podcast. I could put it out there
Yeah.
where a lot of people could see it all over the country because I hit a lot of websites all over the country. But do you have like a JPEG picture, like Stanford study embrace, $300,
Yeah,
whatever?
we've got it. It's on the brothers page, but I'll go on and send it to you. That same one, Andrew.
Okay, because if I could have that, I could hopefully maybe get you some people.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a digital flyer that ideally is can be posted up in situations like that.
Perfect.
It's a PDF and it should give a quick Cliff's notes on the study.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I was going to say,
everybody,
shoot it to me and I'll connect you and Ron together. If
okay,
that
Sure.
works.
and the participants, if I'm not mistaken, have to be U.S. citizens. Is that correct?
So they have to reside in the US,
Okay.
and that's just because we send them those blood kits.
Yeah.
So they have to reside in the US, and they need to have a postal address that doesn't include a PO box, just so we can get them those
Okay.
kits.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
They also have to be recently diagnosed too, I think, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So recently diagnosed, so in the last 150 days, with their first diagnosis of
Yeah.
cancer, not reoccurring cancer for this study.
Excellent.
And you said you had 98 spots left?
About 98
Yeah.
spots left. Yeah, that was as of yesterday. But we're still actively recruiting. So yeah, so
So
getting quickly to avoid disappointment.
That's right.
how many total patients will there be?
Yeah, we had 440 spots available.
Okay, well, that's pretty good. Okay.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. We can't thank you enough for including us. Like I say, any of you guys have any other questions? If not, then we appreciate you. Definitely. And feel free to stay on if you'd like to learn more about what's going on. So, Brett.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us
Thank
and
you.
share our study.
All right.
Thank you for that. Thanks for explaining a little bit more exactly what it is. I know we were, sent it and everything. Almost month and a half.
Yeah, we've
I
been
know we've been
sending it
sending
out
out
for
stuff.
over a
Yeah,
month.
we've
So
been sending it
hopefully
out
it's
and
gotten
everything.
their
So
attention.
getting a little more explanation as to what it is will help me be able to explain it when, others reach out to us and everything. So thank you for that. And then, without further ado, we'll move on. We got Megan and Coach.
Stella.
I'm gonna say what?
Stella.
That's what I was gonna say, but I felt like I was going to butcher it. Like I said, I'm
No, you
horrible at
got it.
names.
You got it. You're fine.
So thank you both for being here. If you either one of you need to share the screen and everything, by all means, go ahead and just do it. And then I did also in our email blast and everything that went out and stuff linked to the page and everything where others can go and kind of read some more about you guys.
Excellent. All right. Can you see my screen? Oh, am I? Yeah. Can you guys hear me and see the screen?
You're perfect.
Excellent. Okay. All right. We'll save questions until the end because I can't monitor the chat. And we will just breeze through this. Okay, so here's a little bit about me and a little bit about us as a team. My name is Megan. I'm the founder of Entheacare, where we teach the intentional and therapeutic use of both cannabis and psychedelics. I have a whole team of medical professionals where we help guide people. We provide cannabis and psychedelic education and guidance, and then we crafted our own line of hemp products as well. And our mission is to empower healing and end the stigma. I'm a registered nurse, been one since 2012, and I have a master's degree in medical cannabis therapeutics, and I have been in this game since 2022, helping to guide people with plant medicine. And then on the other side of that, people can sometimes develop problematic use with THC, and we help people kind of come down to that and help them find balance again with their cannabis use. And Chella, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I am Coach Chella. I am not a healthcare professional. I'm a family caregiver turned advocate. Through family with cancer and Alzheimer's disease, I really had to find different options for them because they didn't have any good options for my loved ones with rare types of cancers. I'm healer certified and I'm a member of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. I'm actually the co-chair of the Policy and Advocacy Committee. I've been pretty deeply involved in policy and advocacy probably since 2010 when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I've worked in film and television and props and set dressing for 25 years, but now this is what we do. We help support people to live better lives with connection and joy and cannabis. We also have a little podcast, but mostly I help people fighting cancer. I've helped many, many hundreds of people go from late stage diagnosis usually to no evidence of disease, or at least living a much better life. So that's me.
Thank you, Chella. All right, so cannabis and cancer and why it matters. Of course, like with nearly 2 million new diagnoses every year, we're very concerned about the quality of life, and oftentimes we see worse outcomes with, or bad outcomes with, treatments, chemo, radiation. So, there are ways that we can mitigate the effects of chemo and radiation with plant medicine. There's also a huge patient demand. Cannabis is one of the most frequently asked about complementary therapies in oncology. And we're here to be able to answer those questions and guide people appropriately. There's also a huge research gap. There's so many, we're going to go through this later, many preclinical studies showing how cannabis can actually kill cancer in animals and in petri dishes, but there's this huge gap in human research. And then there's a healthcare need that doctors should know a little bit about this or be able to refer their patients appropriately. Okay, when we talk about the cannabis plant, we're talking about way more than just THC. The cannabis plant has hundreds of bioactive molecules in it. Here's just a little bit about the cannabinoid family tree and how it works. When you have a cannabis seed, it's going to have genetics that are dominant is CBGA or CBGVA. And then as time goes on, as the seed grows into a plant, and depending on the genetics and growing conditions, it's going to have either, CBDA, CBCA, or THCA dominant. If it's dominant in CBGA, and then it'll be heavy on the varins with the V on the V side, depending on the genetics. And then when we harvest that raw plant, it's mostly the things with the A on it, CBDA and THCA. And then we can what's called decarboxylate that, and that's when the A falls off, and we have regular THC, regular CBD, and regular CBG. And then it goes down deeper into these other cannabinoids. The ones on the bottom are the ones often found in smoke shops, and those are synthetics, and we don't play with those. So if you see anything with Delta 8, Delta 10, THCP, HHC, we're not touching any of those. Please don't touch those. And then we have terpenes. That's the aromatic part of the plant. And there are a couple of dozen terpenes, and these have their own medicinal values as well. So these are what give the plant its like indica, quote unquote, indica or sativa effects, is uplifting or relaxing terpenes. And then these work together with the cannabinoids, CBD and CBG and THC, they work together in a synergistic way. All right, then we have is cannabis safe? We were taught growing up through the DARE program that cannabis was very, very dangerous. But let's take a look at cannabis compared to other psychoactive drugs. And I really like using this chart to hone that in. So the up and down here is the dependence or addiction potential, and then the left to right is the lethality. So the drugs in the upper right carry the highest risk for lethal overdose and dependence. Heroin, morphine are appropriately there. The ones in the lower left carry virtually no risk of addiction, dependence, or lethal overdose. And marijuana or cannabis is moderate to low dependence potential. The current number is about 9% of users can become dependent on it, depending on your definition, of dependence or addiction. It is less than 10%. And then we're going to get into LSD and psilocybin later. So take a look at the drugs that are illegal, marijuana, LSD, psilocybin, are all safer than the ones that are sold at gas stations, nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. So just put that into perspective. The medicines that we work with are very, very safe. All right. The endocannabinoid system, that's the receptor and neurotransmitter system within our body that cannabis interacts with. And it's a system-wide, a body-wide system that regulates pain, appetite, mood, sleep, and immune balance. And we have CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors. CB1 receptors are often found in the brain and the nervous system. When THC binds to these receptors, this is what gives us the euphoria and the high that we feel. And when it binds to the CB2 receptors, this is what brings down the inflammation in our body. And in cancer, a lot of times in tumors, there's an overexpression of CB2 receptors. And the endocannabinoid system is heavily involved in regulating the inflammation and cell survival. So dysregulation of the ECS may contribute to tumor growth and spread. So plant cannabinoids like THC, CBD, and others can interact with the system. It can bind to the CB2 receptors on the tumor and then cause different effects in the tumor. And we'll go through that next on how, is that this next one? Okay, no, this is Chella. There are two approaches that we take to cannabis and cancer. One is symptom management. How can we help with symptoms of cancer and symptoms of treatment? And then the other is an adjuvant treatment, either in replace of or in addition to chemotherapy. So Chella's going to go through cannabis and symptom management and how to do that.
Yes. So it's pretty easy compared to fighting cancer to manage some of the symptoms using this amazing plant. So with pain management, THC, the devil's lettuce, the scary one that everybody's afraid of. So THC is shown to reduce neuropathic and cancer-related pain, but you don't need a lot. You can use a very small amount. CBD may reduce inflammation and modulate pain perception, like you won't be as bent out of shape about the pain. And these compounds help to lower our reliance on opioids in some cases. As far as nausea and vomiting, of course, it's very well known that cannabinoids are helpful for nausea and vomiting. It's usually THC that's very well known to help with nausea and vomiting. It also helps stimulate appetite in very low doses. So when your standard anti-nausea medicines aren't working, you can turn to cannabis medicine and usually it'll help. But you don't have to wait to fail on the standard ones because cannabis does so much more than just help us with nausea and vomiting. Stimulates our appetite and it helps us with weight loss. And what I really find so incredibly helpful is how it helps us with sleep and anxiety. So cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, non-impairing, and THC are very helpful for sleep and managing anxiety. All three of these components, actually the whole plant, but these three are the ones that are most well studied, the most well known, and frankly, the easiest to get. So CBD and CBG are often used throughout the day. They're non-impairing. You're not going to feel funny about them, but they are going to help reduce your anxiety. There's studies that show these things. It's not just me saying it or my experience with clients. There are studies that also show us that every cancer patient that uses cannabis, in addition to what they're doing otherwise, have a better experience than people fighting cancer that don't include cannabinoids in their protocol. So even if you're just using a little tiny bit, it will help you more than if you don't use the good plant at all. So there are studies that show that. This is well known. And I highly recommend, if you're not using cannabinoids right now, to start talking about it with Megan, with our team, and start thinking about different ways you can incorporate the good plant into your protocol.
Yes. Yeah. And we've had patients on cannabinoid therapy go through chemotherapy and, a year post-treatment, their blood levels look like they have never had chemo because the cannabinoids helped to protect the healthy cells.
Yes.
And patients who have not lost weight, kids who are on high doses of THC, were healthy and thriving while their counterparts in the hospital were literally wasting away. All right, now this is the fun part, cannabis for cancer treatment. So these are preclinical and lab studies because human studies on this are extremely challenging. We have the anecdotes to support it, and we have real world evidence to support it, but it doesn't meet, the gold standard randomized placebo-controlled trials. But there are 4 ways in which cannabis has shown to actually kill cancer. The first one is apoptosis or programmed cell death. Cannabinoids can trigger self-destruction of cancer cells. And this is important because cancer cells often avoid normal death signals. Cannabinoids are anti-proliferation, so they inhibit the rapid division of cancer cells. And then this has been shown to slow tumor growth in lab studies. They are anti-angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the formation of blood vessels through the tumor. So when the tumor becomes big enough that it kind of needs to self-sustain, it forms blood vessels. And cannabinoids have been shown to block that formation and then starve the cancer cells of oxygen and nutrients. But it doesn't do this to healthy cells. It keeps our cells, our own cells, very healthy. And then also it reduces the ability of cancer cells to migrate and spread to other tissues. And I have a picture here. I apologize for the head in the picture. This is a picture of a lecture that I went to 3 years ago showing this mouse study. I believe this was a breast cancer model that they gave these mice. The top one is the vehicle or the control. Then the first tumor down here is the cannabis treatment. So they just gave cannabinoids. I think they were giving THC. Then the third one down is the tamoxifen or the chemotherapy that they were using. And then the fourth was the combination of the chemo plus the cannabis. And you can see for yourself, the tumor size when it shrunk the most was the combination. And we often see that in real life, that when patients are combining the therapies, they're often more effective than either on their own. And then you can see the tumor volume matches that in the top graph here. The bottom line is the one with the combination of the two. So I think it'll be a couple years before we have human studies demonstrating this. But again, we have the we have the real world stories showing this. And then speaking of real world, Chella is going to chime in on the patients and what she sees and how she manages cancer because she is a cancer specialist.
Yes. So, like Megan said, there are very few gold standard human trials. So what do we do? How do we figure this out? Most of my clients are, they've been through the whole standard of care. They failed every drug. Their cancer just keeps growing and spreading. So what are we going to do to help them? Right? So obviously we talk about palliative dosing and we talk about fighting dosing. And we get those ideas from the lab and animal studies that have already been done. Because, we know that cannabis is safe. So why not start playing with it and seeing what we can do to replicate what they're seeing in the lab and in animals, but in people? Because we know it's not going to hurt them. So we try. So in symptom management, like I was saying, pain is addressed primarily with THC, CBD, CBG, and THCA. All these alphabet soup of cannabinoids are used to address all of the different symptoms that people have. And it's not just these main ones. We also like to use CBC, cannabichromene. But I hate saying all the different names of cannabinoids because it gets just so confusing. Suffice it to say that combining an approach that uses CBD, CBG, and THC with some modified protocols, additional protocols like repurposed drugs, like changing your diet and changing your mindset. These are incredibly important, incredibly valuable. And I think that most standard of care doesn't address these things that a patient can do all on their own. So I can change my diet. I can change what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking. And yeah, I can figure out how and what cannabinoids to use by looking at the studies and trying it on myself. So we've seen apoptosis by using high doses of CBD, CBG. We see downregulating the ID1 gene with CBD and CBDA is what stops cancer from spreading. So we can use CBD and CBDA totally non-impairing to help stop the spread of cancer. Normalizing Notch1 signaling is what also helps with, you know, those blood vessels in the tumor that Megan was talking about. A study out of Israel came out last year that showed CBDV, CBDA, and others cancer cell proliferation by normalizing that Notch1 signaling. And Notch1 signaling is dysregulated in a whole bunch of diseases, not just cancer. So these weird non-impairing cannabinoids can support our overall wellness and our overall healing. Like I said before, I have hundreds of clients who started, almost all of them, at the end of their journey with standard of care. Some of my clients are still doing standard of care. And when we introduce cannabis to their protocol, it just supercharges everything. And later when we get into the case reports, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But yeah, that's what we are seeing with real live human beings every single day. When we add cannabinoids to their protocol, whatever it is that they're doing, whether it's standard of care only or standard of care plus repurposed drugs, we add cannabis, and that's when it all sort of galvanizes. And I'm excited for future studies that are going to show us how and why this is happening, but we really don't have to wait to start trying things.
Yes. Thank you. All right. There we go. Okay, now let's get into the fun part, the psychedelics for cancer. All right, when we're talking about psychedelics, we're talking about medications, medicines like psilocybin, LSD, ketamine, MDMA, which is Molly or ecstasy, DMT, ayahuasca, mescaline, and ibogaine. We have to touch on the safety of them because, again, we were taught that these are very dangerous medicines. But again, check out where LSD and psilocybin sit on this chart. We are not getting addicted to these medicines, and we are not risking any sort of lethal overdose on them. These are incredibly, incredibly safe medicines. But yeah, they are federally illegal, not because they are addictive or unsafe, but they are illegal for other reasons that have nothing to do with their safety. Okay, why do people use psychedelics in general? One of the biggest reasons is for healing trauma or healing our relationship to the trauma, getting some resolution on that. That's where a lot of our anxiety, depression, OCD, eating disorders, hoarding, and addictions, for the most part, we can say that they stem from a history of trauma. So psychedelics can help us get some resolution all around that. People use them for spiritual exploration and mystical experiences. If they want the ego dissolution, if they are relieving existential dread, you know, people at end of life have an existential crisis often, and I believe that that's true with cancer diagnosis as well. So it's a great tool for helping people to realize that there is something beyond us and bigger than us, and things will be okay, and we are safe and we are loved. People also use it for personal growth, in breaking old patterns and enhancing their own creativity. And these are fantastic tools for pain management, neuropathic pain, cancer-related pain, distress, and anxiety, and then cluster headaches and migraines, found with psilocybin and LSD. Chella's going to touch on microdosing and what microdosing is.
Yes, we have a bit of a balloon ball game happening in the background with my dad, who's living with dementia, so please don't mind any sounds from that situation. So microdosing, small, very small amount of psilocybin or cannabis even. You can microdose cannabis. Very, very small doses. So a really tiny amount compared to what maybe your friends talked about at a party or some experience that they may have. So the whole concept of microdosing means it's not perceptible. You're not supposed to feel anything. So if you take something that's a microdose and you don't feel anything, you're doing it right. But eventually, you might notice certain things softening. And as a family caregiver, I can tell you, microdosing is extremely helpful for helping me have a higher perspective. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. The schedule for microdosing, you don't take it every day. You don't take it several times a day. Just take it occasionally, a few days a week, but not daily, because that way your nervous system can reset. We love to do this because almost all of my clients come to me saying, I don't want to feel high. I don't want to feel high. So we honor where they are in their journey and we make sure that they don't feel high. Some of them do write me and are like, hey, I think you gave me a bad batch. I'm not feeling anything. No, that's exactly what you asked for. So yeah. And let's see, yes, the options, the different options. So cannabis, yes, very, very low doses. I just came off of another webinar. Very, very low doses for people fighting cancer can be helpful on the daily as well, because while you may not be feeling high, it is toning your endocannabinoid system. So the system that Megan was talking about earlier, it's not taught in biology class, even though it was established in science over 30 years ago with many thousands of studies now. It's not taught in biology. It's not taught in medical school. It's not even taught at Stanford. So we have this brilliant system, this major target that doctors and researchers are not considering because they just don't know it exists. So yeah, microdosing is very, very helpful on many different levels. And, you know, we don't know all the reasons why, because we don't have those robust studies, perhaps in the future, but we don't have to wait.
Thank you. And Shelley, you're doing this one also.
I shall continue. Yes. So all of my clients, I pretty much recommend microdosing mushrooms to all of my cancer clients because all of them have been through a long journey before we've met. So all of them have gone through the trauma of going through cancer treatment, the ups and downs. So we love microdosing for the clarity and the reduction in anxiety and depression and accepting that this is a limited time that we have on this planet and we can enjoy it every single day. I find that mushrooms do build resilience and a connection to me and everybody else in the world. Pain and symptom relief, yeah, totally helps with neuropathy, with cancer pain, and shocking, there's something called cluster headaches that there's literally no other medicine that's very helpful for it. And cluster headaches are called suicide headaches by healthcare professionals because they're so terrible that people often can't do it. So they end up taking their lives because it's so painful. But psilocybin is a promising treatment for cluster headaches. And we happen to know someone living with dementia and cluster headaches who benefits from microdosing, keeps them away. We have a deeper rest when we have psilocybin on board. I often recommend it at night for people who are having trouble sleeping. And one of my clients told me that they wake up in love with life when they've taken microdose at bedtime.
That's your father.
No, it's not my father. Did you guys hear that? It's not my father. But yes, harm reduction is also really a great tool for harm reduction because it helps us reduce our need for opioids, alcohol, and sleep meds. So we love this for this reason. We know that opioids can cause all kinds of other problems, especially and including constipation, and we really don't need more problems when we're managing a cancer diagnosis. We love the creativity that can flow, and of course, breaking the old habits. When we start microdosing, it's important, if you've never done it before, to work with someone like people at Entheacare to help us with the integration to get the most out of microdosing. And once you've microdosed for a while, you can take a crack at doing a macrodose, a bigger dose. I am somebody who was terrified of mushrooms because I had a very bad experience 30 years ago. So I started microdosing carefully, slowly during the pandemic. I developed my relationship, and I recently did a 1 gram exploration with Entheacare that was fantastic. It did really help me work through a trauma that I had had. I almost drowned a number of years ago. And during this experience, I definitely worked through that trauma. It was really amazing. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chella.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with cancer diagnosis, coming to a place of acceptance and needing clarity on where your path is, microdosing can be a great tool for that. Of course, it's not appropriate for everybody. So people it might be appropriate for people who live at home as opposed to living in a facility, because of course we're not giving psilocybin mushrooms. We're not having the nurses give mushrooms to patients in a facility. It's really important that people have a support system, somebody to help them kind of process everything as stuff comes up. It's, people who are seeking alternative therapies and can understand the concept of self-medicating. Some people just need to be told exactly what to take and when to take it, but that's not how microdosing works. There is some degree of self-administration and like self-medicating according to how it makes you feel and according to what your goals are. And then unfortunately, it's not something that's covered by insurance, so cash pay is important also. It's not always appropriate for people with a personal history of schizophrenia, bipolar, or other major mental health issues. Some medications or high amounts of medications are not always appropriate, but it can help people come off of medications like antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. And then poor historians, those who can't exactly, point to every point in their story, and this is more like for elderly patients where that can be challenging. All right, Chella's gonna walk us through 2 case studies, and then we will open it up for questions.
So this was a gentleman who had 2 kids and a fantastic nurse practitioner wife who worked at a federal drug rehab facility. So they had some blocks about using cannabis medicine to start with, but they really wanted him to live. So he had very dire prognosis, stage 4 metastatic colorectal cancer. It had literally spread pretty much everywhere, and nothing was working. They were already doing repurposed drugs. They already changed his diet, and they were doing all the standard of care possibilities. So he was on chemotherapy. He was signed up for radiation and starting to schedule for potential surgery in the future. I met him, and when I met him and his wife, he was bent over, completely out of the picture, because the pain was so great. He had a tumor the size of a softball in the middle of his intestines. So of course, it was crazy painful. He had terrible sleep, tremendous anxiety, a poor appetite, and of course, chemo-induced nausea and vomiting. We started him with 5 milligrams of total cannabinoids for every 1 kilogram of weight, which is a sizable dose. And he moved up rather quickly to 10 milligrams for every 1 kilogram of weight. He was taking a little more than 1,000 milligrams of total cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, and THC at night and in a suppository. So we want to get the medicine as close to the issue as possible. So for us in this group, it would be topical application wherever you may have some involvement. You may want to use suppositories if you've had spread to different areas. He also did a cleaner diet than what he had been doing before, was exercising. The repurposed drugs that he was using are ivermectin and fenbendazole. They used some supplements, vitamin D3 and K2, and a few other supplements, and of course, the standard of care. They weren't leaving any stone unturned. So we went through an intense time together for about 6 months. 4 weeks after we started working together, they had a intake at the Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic gave him a full body scan, head to toe. The radiologist came out from the back and said, "When did you have surgery to remove the primary tumor?" And they knew something good was happening because his bowel movements were better and he wasn't having the pain anymore. But they never in a million years expected that the softball-sized tumor was gone, right? So that was an amazing result. And of course, like I said, he was doing all the things. So I feel like eventually, when there are more studies that combine chemotherapy with cannabinoids, we might see some really interesting results there. He went through all of his treatment. In December, he had another scan. He was no evidence of disease. So 6 months from the time we started, with mets to his liver, his lungs, his adrenals, his gallbladder, and of course, throughout his colon. No evidence of disease by December. He was scheduled for surgery in January, where they harvested half of his liver, his gallbladder, his adrenal glands, and 10 inches of his colon, sent it all to the lab. They chopped it up and they kept looking and looking, and they found no active cancer cells in any of the stuff that they took out of him, which was phenomenal. And she just wrote to me last month to say, "Hey, I just wanted you to know he's doing great. He's still doing awesome. He's still using the cannabis medicine, and he's still no evidence of disease." And so this is an amazing report. And this was the guy who first made me realize how important CBD and CBG together are for fighting cancer. CBD and CBG are some kind of magic, you guys. And I learned it not only reading the studies that you can totally read on PubMed, but from this book by Dr. Joe Goldstritch called The Cannabis Cancer Connection. Highly recommend this book. It's in my recommended reading section, and it's a great book. And we reviewed it in May. So if you want to just check out the review, you can just go to our website and check out the review of the book if you don't want to actually read it. But I highly recommend reading it. It's great. And you can bring the studies that are listed in there to your doctors to share and show and all the things. So let's move on to our next case study, breast cancer. So this lady, 56-year-old woman, she was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer in December 22. I started talking with her in April of 23. She had poor sleep. She was frustrated and overwhelmed, irritable and agitated. She, of course, had terrible mood swings. She had a hormonally based issue, right? It was causing problems. She, of course, had pain at the tumor location and in her lymph nodes. So we started her with 5 milligrams per kilogram. She was very concerned about taking high doses of any cannabinoids at all. So she started probably with half that. So my recommendation was 5 milligrams per kilogram, but she started a little less. You have control over where you start. You are the researcher, the doctor, and the client and the subject all in one. So it's important that when you use cannabis medicine to keep notes. If you keep good notes, you're going to have the best possible outcome. So she started lower than I normally recommend for people, and that's cool. She started using the topical right away, 1-to-1 CBD THC, and she was having much better days almost immediately. Her anxiety was relieved from the CBD CBG. She was getting better sleep with the THC at night, even with lower doses than I would normally recommend. She is still cancer-free. Oh, sorry. She also cleaned up her diet. She used those repurposed drugs, ivermectin, fenbendazole. My ovarian cancer clients usually go with mebendazole because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. And then, of course, supplements and moderate exercise. She is still cancer-free. So these people are doing great. It is well known in the cannabis science community that whatever you have used to get yourself well, you should stay on for the rest of your life. You may not need those high doses, but you should still be taking a maintenance dose of your CBD, CBG. We really love the Thrive XL products that Entheacare has. It has CBD, CBG, and a variety of other minor cannabinoids, as well as beta-caryophyllene. And it's a great place to start. If you're weary and you don't want to buy a bunch of things, start with Thrive XL. We really highly recommend that product. It's great.
All right,
That's-
thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
here's just a little bit on how to work with us. Chella and I are our businesses are completely separate. So if you are just wanting a quick product recommendation or help managing a symptom, that's when you can schedule a free call with us, talk to a nurse. We do have mind-body wellness consultations. We offer the microdosing programs where you work one-on-one with a nurse, and we walk you through how to microdose the right way, and then help you integrate it into your life as your brain is literally rewiring. And then we offer group education to patients and healthcare workers. And then if you want the cancer treatment, those high dose protocols for your specific cancer, that's when you go to Chella. And Chella, please add what you want.
Sure, yes. That's exactly what we do. We do the treatment protocols for people fighting cancer. We usually like to meet with people about once a month if possible. We do, of course, also have a la carte options where you can just come and get an idea of what you need to do and then go forth. Most people new to cannabis as medicine prefer to have a pack, a 4-pack deal where they can meet with me regularly because they don't know what it is. They don't know what any of that stuff is. And it's taken me as a layperson 10 years to learn all this stuff. So it might take somebody fighting cancer too much time to figure out what is going to work for them so they can shortcut that by meeting with me. We help people feel better right away. We help people fight cancer as well. And of course, we help people with managing their final chapter as well.
You do for your father.
Which I do for my father as he's chimed in.
Yes. All right. And with that, I will open it up for questions. Here is our contact information. Take a picture of that, take a screenshot, and then I'll stop share. I do put out educational content all the time on social media, at enthea.care or Entheacare on all of the other socials. And then if you want to work with Chella, there's her email and her information and website. And Chella is an incredibly affordable clinician to work with. We're talking less than $200 to get your entire cancer protocol and her 10 years worth of knowledge and experience. So incredibly affordable. And she will connect you with trusted sources for low cost options for the high dose cannabinoids. All right, with that, I am going to stop share.
I just had one question real quick on the case studies or the examples and everything you shared towards the end and stuff. Were they on any chemo treatment and stuff, or this was strictly they were on those as well,
So the
doing
first
the
one,
CBD and the ivermectin and stuff? Because I've seen all that stuff on there. So I was just curious on.
yes. So the first one, the colorectal cancer client, 42-year-old man, he was doing all of the things. His wife, the nurse practitioner, literally dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. He was doing the repurposed drugs. He changed his diet somewhat. And yeah, he was doing chemotherapy and scheduled for surgery for January, which was 6 months out from, well, I don't know when they scheduled it, but yes, they were doing all standard of care plus diet and alternative cancer protocols. The Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine has a great adjunct protocol that they published, and it includes the deworming medicines, the repurposed drugs, as well as a number of different supplements. The only things I would add to it are CBD and melatonin. And then the second person, she did surgery. She did surgery, but no other standard of care treatments. So it was surgery, and then she did diet, repurposed drugs, and cannabis.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this okay in all 50 states? Is there any legality issues on this or?
There are legality issues. and it depends on what state. So you do
Okay.
want to check with things. Now, I also have clients who don't care. I have clients in Idaho. They don't care that it's not legal because they're trying to save their lives.
Right.
So everybody has a different risk tolerance. And if you are someone who gets drug tested for work, you definitely don't want to be using cannabinoids. Most drug testing for work does not include psilocybin. So that's something you can consider. But again, we go back to the legality issue. Psilocybin is only legal in a few places. It is legal in Colorado. It is legal in Oregon for you to work with a doctor directly. Certain cities also have decriminalized psilocybin, but not necessarily have it legal for medical purposes. So like Washington, D.C., Oakland, Albuquerque, and a few other places have decriminalized psilocybin. Most states, CBD is legal. There are a few that it is not legal. And as far as cannabis goes, it's legal in half of the country has some kind of medical cannabis program. So, and 40 states, I just made a graphic on this recently. 40 states have some, 40 states have some kind of medical cannabis program. 23 states have legal adult use cannabis. So most Americans can access cannabis medicine in their state legally. Canadians totally can also. Other countries, it just depends. So a lot of European countries, you're cool. Obviously, we know Russia, China, not cool. Philippines, Indonesia, not cool. But beta-caryophyllene is legal globally. Beta-caryophyllene is a terpene that is anti-cancer, it's anti-anxiety, it helps macular degeneration, it balances your gut microbiome. Beta-caryophyllene is legal everywhere. It has no drug-drug interactions. So it's a really good option for folks if they can't use cannabis or
Okay.
psilocybin.
So I would assume the people being treated, they would get it, what, through the mail or whatever,
Mhm.
the products. Okay. And then my other question is, do you recommend doing this complementary therapy and consulting with the oncologist who's taking care of you?
I think it depends on, and Megan, I'm sure, has an opinion here too. I think it depends on where you live and what the first question I tell all my clients to ask is ask the doctor if they heard about this endocannabinoid system thing. If they know anything about this endocannabinoid system, because that will give you an idea of how open-minded they are about cannabis.
Yeah.
And if they say something derogatory or bad about the endocannabinoid system, then maybe not bring it up with them. And if they say something neutral, maybe say, what are your thoughts about cannabis? Just keep it neutral. What are your thoughts about cannabis? So that way you don't take a position either way. Because, I don't want you to get fired by your oncologist.
Yeah.
They're
right.
necessary for certain things, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to stay neutral and keep it broad. What are your thoughts, Megan?
My thoughts are oftentimes doctors aren't knowledgeable enough to have a valid opinion, yet they think they are. So then they give their opinion, which is often don't use it or, there's no credible evidence, blah, blah, blah. And what we tell people is you have the right to choose your own course of therapy. And we want to empower you to make an informed decision about cannabis. The doctor, they're not informed about it. How can they tell you? How can they help you make the informed decision? So, I have patients that tell their doctors about it, and the doctor can't even, like, their tumors are shrinking, and the doctor doesn't even know what to put in their chart because they're like in Texas and they don't know, they're just using supplements and that's all they're putting, which is unfortunate because we'd like to know what is actually shrinking the tumor. So yeah, people, you can make your own decision and have the conversation, but just beware that the doctor may try to talk you out of it.
Yeah, they don't know that we have an endocannabinoid system. So that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. So that's
Yeah,
why I
and
usually start with
I'm
that.
going through something similar. I've talked to Peggy about that. We're dealing with a shoulder issue where a rotator cuff never healed properly. And when you talk to the orthopedist, your answer is, well, take Tylenol, take Motrin, that type of thing. Uh, have you ever heard of such and such shockwave therapy? No, no, don't know anything about that. But yet it's working. It's been used in Europe for 10 years. And there's certain doctors that know about it. So you have to be, as we always say here at, breast cancer happens, you have to be your own advocate. You have to do your own research because not all these doctors know this stuff.
Knowledge is power, as we say. And unless you've been through it before, you don't know if a certain thing's going to work for you.
Right.
And this is why we have these meetings, to bring it out there, to say, if nothing else is working out there, guys, it's not going to hurt to try something new to see if it works. It's your life. It's our lives. You're the only one who lives in your body. That's the problem.
And we do have the right to try any drug that has passed stage 2 trials, and cannabis has done that like repeatedly.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I'll go way back to my grandmother who had dementia, and we all couldn't believe she smoked weed and all that, and CBD and this is back in the 80s, okay? Totally illegal, right? But it's the only thing that kept her going. So
yes, that's how I came to this work. Was my mom had Alzheimer's, and that's how, our little side project, Cannabis Helps Dementia podcast, we interview doctors and nurses and families on how cannabis helps. Yeah,
it did. And that was clear back in the 80s. Like I said, nobody could imagine. And even back then we were told, don't do what your grandmother does. Okay, we get you. But it helped her. So we appreciate everything that you guys have. This knowledge is just great. But Brett, what would you have anything to say? And
No, like I said, I've been using it, and it's been helping and stuff. So I plan on sticking on it and everything. And I encourage everybody to maybe reach out and around, like you said, rotator cuff and all that stuff, to see if there's another option, because the Tylenol, the ibuprofens and stuff will do a little more havoc on your body over a longer period and stuff. So
Brett's dad, my husband,
yep.
they told him quit taking Advil and Tylenol for his back and the neck from a car accident, right? Well, okay, but how do you fight the pain?
Oh, he absolutely needs cannabis.
That's right.
Yeah. So, well, and my younger brother's a big advocate of it, and so he's the reason why I found you guys, and had that first call and stuff, and it was great. It was great knowledge and stuff. So I do appreciate everything you guys are doing. Kella, I will maybe reaching out to you here in the near future and stuff to talk a little bit more and stuff. But does anybody else have any other questions?
I just found it very, very enlightening, and
Ron,
it's good to know. It's good to know that you guys exist.
That's right. And Ron, Ron is a retired pharmacist, so the man knows drugs.
Yeah.
And a two-time survivor, or one-time survivor, two-time survivor.
Amazing. The Society of Cannabis Clinicians would love to have you.
He's wonderful. Ron, you should get him on your podcast.
I'm thinking of that. Yeah. I've got your contact information, so I'll get in touch with you guys, and maybe we'll do a podcast about it, because there's people out there that need this information.
Yes, sir. Excellent.
Yeah.
Sorry, I also have a question. I'm Don's son.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about the use of dewormer medication. What is that used for in all of this?
A lot of our guys have used it for cancer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stage 4 guys. Yeah.
Yes. So I
For
imagine,
cancer.
For fighting cancer. So cancer and parasites seem to have similar growth pathways. So ivermectin, there's quite a lot. If you go on to Google and you look up ivermectin or dewormers for cancer, you'll see an enormous body of work. And actually, there are studies on ivermectin and fenbendazole for fighting cancer.
Right.
And there's a couple of groups on Facebook. Some are better than others, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of data and people using fenbendazole, mebendazole, and ivermectin. The thing is, you can't like write it. Like groups get shut down over sharing this information.
Right.
So you may have to be a little cryptic when you're asking questions, and you know, similar with cannabis, you may need to use different spellings of things. Like for ivermectin, I just write IVM, and for fenbendazole, I just do the consonants. But yes, these compounds seem to be helping, and you do need complementary supportive supplements when you're using them, a binder that'll help grab the stuff and push it out of your body. So serrapeptase or TUDCA or Pectisol, depending on what other drugs you're taking, to help flush the waste out that you're killing. You want to take those dead cells and flush them out. So yeah, fenbendazole for cancer support on Facebook is one of the groups that I'm in. Some of the others, I don't know, but this one particular group that I'm in is pretty well informed. So yes, so antiparasitics are showing this really remarkable thing. You can also follow Dr. Makis on Substack, M-A-K-I-S on Substack. He presents a lot of the case studies, and he advises people on how to incorporate these things into their protocol. He does email-only consults for a fee. And yeah, but of course we do that one-on-one as well.
And I could probably guarantee you that most oncologists would have a negative.
Oh yes, for
attitude.
sure,
Guaranteed.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Because I mentioned that deworming drug, and it was, oh my God, no,
Right.
you know.
Well,
Right.
one of our stage 4 guys just came off of it, and he has no evidence of disease anymore.
Well, there you go.
See, so something must have been working, and he was
proof is
doing
in
it
the
for
pudding.
4 years. Yeah,
And
he's
no
coming off-
problems, right?
No, he really
Yeah.
hasn't.
Ivermectin is safer than aspirin. It's crazy. And quite frankly, I mean, you guys, we eat food, we play with animals, we should do some deworming from time to time. From time to time, you know, I mean, I kiss my dog, I sleep with my dog. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's a good idea to be, you know, up on your own maintenance.
Very true.
And there
Well,
are foods, of course, that are also anti-parasitic as well that you can incorporate into your diet stuff.
Don't you think a lot of this is it's not FDA approved or whatever?
Neither is cannabis.
We have this thing about the FDA.
Yeah.
I got
For
a real
some
thing
reason.
about the FDA. Bless their hearts.
True. So, well,
Right.
I just think this is wonderful knowledge again, because when they tell you you're not going to make it, you're going to try a lot of stuff just to be here, guys.
Yep.
And that's all we're trying to do is help each other as families go to get the best knowledge out there and try if something else isn't working. Because I don't want to see Brett going anywhere just because of his new diagnosis. He's got 2 kids to raise. So,
Speaking of which, it's their bedtime. So.
yes, so it's about time. We'll get off here. Coming up will be next month, October. Of course, the only month anybody gets breast cancer. But we all know that it doesn't know what month it is. So we appreciate everybody, appreciate the knowledge. And if anybody else doesn't have any other questions, we will say sign out for until next month.
Thank you.
Yes.
Guys.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you all, and I'll send out kind of like a recap email and everything with everybody's contact. So if anybody needs to get in touch, in contact. So thank you guys.
Thanks so much. Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Peggy.
So, happy
I
guys.
appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.